Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom.
I just got off the phone with the head of the World Games, and believe it or not, there is a new event. The longest sermon, and tonight I'm going for the gold. Thanks, Marianne. I appreciate that. Largest guffaw. You get the gold. But this actually may not make you laugh, but believe it or not, there is a fast on Sunday. I know it's not part of the origins of the Reform movement to include all of the minor fast days. I think we know of one that we hopefully partake in the fall. But we have the fast, Tzom Tammuz, the fast of Tammuz. And the question is, why would we fast on Sunday? Where a better question will be, we know that our friends in Overton Road, or our friends in Brooklyn in Israel, they may fast on Sunday. So I shall explain for those who want to partake in the fast of Tammuz. Our rabbis love the idea of process and reflection. If there's ever a moment to agonize in our suffering, part of the suffering is the ability to abstain from eating. So according to our tradition, perhaps the Jewish calendar, on Sunday marks what will be 3 weeks from the 9th of Av, which is Tish B'Av, is when we mourn the destruction of the first and second temple. It's a day of solace, it's a day of difficulty, it's a day of thinking about our transgressions and what we can do to repair ourselves and perhaps repair the world around us. But again, we're lamenting of the destruction of our Jewish people and all their calamities against us. But why Sunday? So according to the rabbis, it was this date when the Romans besieged the walls of Jerusalem. They had enough of the revolt. This was going to come to an end, and destroying the temple would be that signifying moment against the Jewish people. So Sunday, we begin this lamenting process from not eating. Again, a minor fast day for us in the Reform movement, but it has great significance as we repair our souls. I think understanding why the destruction of the temple is important even in the Reform movement. There's historical answers, and then there's rabbinical answers, which I'll get to. The historical and accurate answers are the Romans engaged in a series of layoffs against blue-collar workers. The Jewish people were tired of the mixing and maxing of different types of populations in Caesarea and other regions. More engagement of idolatry, which irritated the Jews. The banning of the upkeep of the temple. Again, this bothered the Jewish people. Taxes, we don't like taxes, and the census. And this led to the revolt against the Roman people. The Jewish people were successful for a bit, but eventually they couldn't handle the Roman army. But the rabbis ask us this question. We believe in an all-powerful God, a God who redeemed us out of slavery, a God who helped us retake our ancestral indigenous homeland. How could God allow for our temple, the second temple, to be destroyed? And this is one of the greatest theological questions that we have answered. The one answer is that we sinned and therefore we deserve to be punished. And again, our rabbis have difficulty with that theological answer because we don't want to believe in God who goes in such punishment because we can think of so many things that we've suffered and we don't think of our wrongdoings of causing the pain against us. But it's sinat chinam. This is the reason why our rabbis teach us fill the temple. It's pure hatred or blindless hatred of other Jewish people. And there's going to be one lesson as to why the temple was destroyed and why we'll begin our fast on Sunday. Again, the idea of sinat chinam, blindless or illogical hatred toward our fellow Jew, or in today's world, blindless hatred of our fellow Americans, something that I think we can relate to. This week's Parsha, Parshat Balak, is two stories. One that is somewhat comical of an odd prophet who attempts to curse the Jewish people, takes a blind order, but eventually blesses the people, and that's where we get Matovu. And then at the end, The Israelites once again engage in idolatry, and this hero named Pinchas comes and gets rid of the plague by engaging in such zealous behavior. The character's name is Pinchas, and he is a Torah portion dedicated to him next week. Pinchas actually stabs the Bnei women, in the belly to end this plague, and again engaging in such religious fervor. So our rabbis and the great Rashi, they understand Pinchas, someone who was so zealot in his ways, identify him as someone who had a love of all humanity and the one who would pursue peace. And a bit of a paradox as we understand a man who would engage in such zealous behavior. So there are two stories for us to take home tonight. One is this idea of Bilam taking orders without asking questions, and the other of Pinchas. And it's not my desire to read against the text, but I disagree with Rashi's understanding. A man who would pursue peace by murdering another people. I think the best way for us to understand this parasha and how we go on with our lives as we understand the fast of Tammuz, as we welcome the summer but still have these 3 weeks of lamenting, is how can we see ourselves not living alike Bilam, who takes boundless orders, or Pinchas, who engaged in such zealous righteousness. We can think of all the world's problems, our country's problems. And I think something that I want to talk about tonight is the idea of what our rabbis talked about 2,000 years ago. As we think about cheshbon nefesh, as we prepare ourselves to be better human beings, the things that we need to work on, that I need to work on, is self-righteousness. Bilam was self-righteous without challenging orders, and Pinchas was so self-righteous in his ability to end the life of another human being because he thought that he was set in his ways. I know that many of us believe that we are set in our ways. In a way, it's part of the Jewish spirit, perhaps the American spirit, but I don't think it's good for us. I lament the destruction of the temple, the first one, the second one. I lament when we were kicked out of Spain and in England and the Holocaust. All reasons why we lament 3 weeks from Sunday. But if there's something for us to work on, it's not to be like Bilam. It's to ask more questions about why we do things. It's to challenge respectfully. It's maybe to look for the nuances in things. It's not to act like Pinchas. Righteousness and loving kindness repairs the cheshbon nefesh, our souls, while self-righteousness leads to the opposite direction. So as we process Sunday, for those who choose to fast or for those who would remember, and we think about these next 3 weeks, perhaps it's our abilities to step outside the idea of self-righteousness. Think about empathy, kindness, what we can do to repair our souls, ask more questions. If there's one lesson that we learned from the destruction of the Second Temple, is that we can learn how to be better people. Because after Av, which is the next Hebrew month, then we welcome Elul, the month right before the high holidays, and then it's Tishrei. It's when we celebrate the beginning of the year. This is when the cheshbon nefesh seasons begins. I'm taking on this challenge for myself. I think this is what we can do as a community. Shabbat Shalom. We turn to page 586 for our Aleinu.